2023. Every year I sound like a broken record about the year sucking. I really do. I really do feel like that because it's been a very nihilistic look, I guess, that even if some great stuff did happen, I have this very negative opinion about the year all told. And that has happened the last many years, and I can honestly say, yeah, it kind of was a bad year for me, but it was mostly mental stuff. The last few years have been external stuff, like something's inhibited me from doing stuff, something's stopped me from doing this and that. This year was strictly just my mental health wasn't good at all. And that mostly is what contributes me thinking like, oh man, this year sucked, but there's so much good stuff that happened this year. Like so much, and I'll go over it here in a second, but I do want to say that as this year has went on and towards the end of this year, I finally understood what I might be lacking in mental capacity, what's going on with me. And I guess I'll make this as a public announcement. I hope to go to therapy next year to really hammer in everything. But you know, when you grow old, you get to the point where you start like dissecting yourself, and I think I've gotten to that point of dissection. I just need I need somebody else to help me put it together and all that. So it was a rough year, mental health wise. Just a lot of factors in the early year messed with me, and that was something I just could not recover for the whole year. And I still can't say 100% certainty I'm all perfect and great now, but after a talk I had with a friend the other day, I started looking at myself. The good things that happened this year, we kind of did a little rebranding, new logo. I designed that on my own. I had some, design cues from Matt's old design, logo design. And I thought I did pretty good with it. I thought it was pretty cool. I, of course, put it on a hat. This is pretty much one of the coolest things I've ever had Lego Arts Production merch on because I love ball caps, especially trucker hats. So to have this is awesome. Also a new polo, all that. We had a Secret Transformer show episode, and I worked very hard on that for a good couple of months. And what was really funny was like that last week of production on that is when my mental health plummeted, but I toughed through it and I got that episode out on time. And that was a really fun episode and all that. After that, we don't really have a lot of great things that happened to the channel, but outside of the channel, I got to go see Dakota and Kat's wedding, and that was such a fun trip. Me and Max did the trip. We flew out there. It was my first time on a plane, and it was a lot of fun, except for the car sickness I felt on the way back. I know, car sickness. I was on a plane. But anyway, no, I think planes are cool, and now I want to plan all my future trips on planes. But no, it was an awesome trip. I finally got to go out and got to see Nebraska. It's the farthest west I've ever been in my life. So that was cool. And me and Max, we went to the wedding. We were a part of the wedding. I was one of the groomsmen. And it was such an awesome time. It was great to see Dakota and Kat after almost 2 years. It was all same with Max. And it was a lot of fun. Obviously, the wedding was amazing. I was just super, super happy to be a part of that day. It really meant a lot to me and all that. And then also getting to hang out with Max more, because at the last trip, I hung out with Dakota and Kat more, and then we got to hang out with Max and Justin just a little bit, for their wedding day and then the day after. So not a whole lot of time. So the opposite happened this time. I got to hang out with Max more, and we hung out with Dakota and Kat just a little bit. But regardless, still, awesome trip, awesome. Got to see my good friends again, best friends again. And I can't wait, hopefully this next year, maybe some more trips are in the works. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other stuff that's been cool. But really, it's about it.
I forgot to mention, I also got to see two of my favorite musician, artists, bands, whatever. I saw Paramore and I saw Taylor Swift. Also, LarryArtsProduction.com exists.
Um, Obviously sponsored in the ISRC. I was their title sponsorship this year, and that was awesome. That was really cool to get to do that. We're working on the next season now, and I'm once again returning for the title sponsorship of that. So I couldn't be more happier about all that. Um, Got to sponsor Danny, got to sponsor Ollie Fonseca, I think Dakota Moniz just a little bit as well. Moniz, sorry. I got a photo with Ollie and Danny. I got to meet Danny a couple times this year too. So that was fun. And yeah, I'm glad to have this sponsorship continue on. And also just they're great friends. I would call them good friends. So it was a lot of fun. All right, enough of that mushy nonsense, Larry. Let's get on to the list. Well, I know you're going to do the honorable mentions list thing first. But hey, this year I'm going to do it a little differently. So hopefully this might cut some time, might add more time. Don't know. So here's what we're going to do. Here you go. Have fun. We start with number 15. I got this just recently, so my opinions really aren't formed too much about it, but regardless, I do think it's cool. The Reactivate Optimus Prime. To me, what makes him cool is that he feels like a Classics Prime, but made today. I don't know if I've ever been very vocal about this. I'm not a big fan of the old Classics Optimus Prime mold. I think it's kind of dated. Obviously, when I got it though, it was in 2014. So obviously there were so many more molds at the time. There was I think I was spoiled with the Masterpiece by that point. So I was just like a little confused. Sorry, I'm itching at my face. I don't know what's going on with me today. I'm just itchy there. But I've never been a huge fan of the Classics Prime mold. But this satisfies that niche for me. It has exactly everything. It has this almost the exact same articulation, but the transformation is interesting. It's a little more fun going on. It has these cool accessories. It has more posability to go with it. Like I said, I feel like this is a Classics Prime if they made it today. I still think, though, at the end of the day, it's still just kind of the old song and dance of an Optimus Prime toy. But regardless, I love Optimus Prime, so of course I was going to get it. The Soundwave is but I really do think this is a shining star. And I'm glad that this pack didn't include battle damage on this guy, because I think the battle damage on the Starscream and Bumblebee is annoying. So I'm glad this guy didn't get it. So, but either way, like I said, I think this is a great one. I think it's not the most amazing Optimus Prime toy, but it's fun, and I like it. Back in the day, I've always saw this toy in the store, and I thought, that looks weird, I'm not getting it. But after some time, I was just like, maybe I should get him. RID 15 Stormfront, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I put the real name here. I think if it's not Stormfront, it's Stormshot. Sorry, probably Stormshot now that I think about it. Either way, put the name here. I really do. I was kind of surprised by this guy. I think he's neat. You don't get a whole lot of Autobot planes, except for like Windblade or stuff like that. But like, this guy was so fun. I paid a little more than what they had him back in the day. But I feel like I got my money's worth out of the guy. I think he's fun. I think he's neat. And I think he's a cool design from a shitty show. But I really like this guy. I think he's so neat. I really don't have a whole lot to say about it. I just think he's a neat guy. He's just a cool little character. He's a funny little guy, He's just a funny little man. Number 13, I really was on the fence about getting it because I was seeing so many reviews of this certain toy line's reputation, I guess, because some of them were stinkers. And I was very turned off by it. But then when I found out this thing was rare and I randomly came across it in a Walmart, and I thought, the hell with it, I'll buy it. And ever since then, I've changed my mind on at least this. The War for Cybertron Optimus Prime. I heard so many reviews, saw so many reviews of like the Barricade, the Megatron, the Bumblebee, all these ones, and even the pictures of the Starscream, and they're so like, what the hell, man? Well, how they fuck it all up? But like all the time, the Optimus Prime is probably the shining star of it all because it's Optimus Prime, and they gotta make it good. There are some elements about this that I'm not a huge fan of, but I will say this, it's easier to transform than the original one, and not that it's bad, but I enjoy this. And I think what I was turned off by it the most was just how big and like broad he was. He's just a big fella, but in hand, he's a lot of fun. He's got some charm to him. Obviously, it's not 100% accurate to the old game, which is really funny because they were really talking about how Barricade was so accurate to the game model with the back specifically. But yeah, so either way, you win some, you lose some. And this is easily my favorite of the line so far, and probably one of the only few I'll buy from the line. Unless they make Bruticus, I'll definitely buy Bruticus. This is a three-way tie. There's nothing I can do. And technically, I've had these toys on a list before in 2014. But I really love this mold. And this year, I finally got every single usage of it. And I'm so happy. Maybe not every usage. There might be like one I'm missing. But regardless, it started out with, from Joe Powell, Burnout. BotCon Burnout. This one eluded me for so long. Like, I could have easily bought it anytime, but I didn't. And then finally it was just like, Joe's like, oh, I'm tired of this glass, so I'm getting rid of her. And I was like, I need it. I need her. So I bought her. It's a little customized. He put a little lipstick on her. That's silly, but whatever. I'm kidding. But I was like, oh, hell yeah. Because I hated the Skids mold to death. And I was like, I don't want to get that Burnout. I do not. So luckily Joe sold me this Burnout. But that wasn't it. Kid Convoy 82 was selling some figures. and this was one of them. And this was something I've wanted forever. The Takara Legend skids. The much better paint scheme one. Oh my god, is it so good. He's so good. I love him. He's such a perfect, just so perfect. The paint apps and everything. I will always still love the original one. But this just takes it out. It just knocks it out of the park. It's just so good. And then this last one, I had it. But I bought it from someone who, we'll just say, probably got it not in a regular way. Someone could say it might have fell off the factory line. And that's how I bought it back in 2014. But now I got it, and it's not factory defected. What's your name again? Roll bar. I finally got every single use of this mold, and it feels so good. I have the crosscut. I have the original skids. I have... Was that it on that one? Either way. And now I got Burnout, I got Legend skids, and I have Roll bar. And it feels so good. I have this mold effectively at this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. I have had this mold 7 times, and every time I love it. It's not my favorite mold of all time, but it's just one that has lasted and I've loved ever since. And I hear people talk about it and say it's not the greatest, then go to hell. I love this mold. It's just simple, it's cool, and that's all I really care about. I waited on getting this guy, and I kind of regret it. But I'm glad it did, because this was a part of the big trip. Because one day, me and Max, we saw Kat and Dakota buy when they were heading to their honeymoon. We stopped. We went shopping for just a tiny bit. We got some lunch and all that fun stuff. Probably was breakfast. Either way, we got to hang out. And after they left, me and Max continued on our shopping spree around. We went to like 5 Targets, 5 Walmarts, a Ross. We were a Hy-Vee grocery store. We just went to a bunch of stores. And this was one of the things that was a part of that haul. Legacy animated Prowl. I like this guy. I mean, there's some stuff that I'm not big on, like his head. I understand why they do that. It was the whole legacy fun. You can't have too much fun with your own continuity. It has to be G1 a little bit. And I don't care, honestly. It transforms exactly like how the old one does, and I like that a lot. But I really do enjoy this guy. I think I'm glad animated finally got some love. I still think the bulkhead they put out wasn't from Prime Universe. It came from the animated universe. And at that point, hell, I think all we just need is a Ratchet. But regardless, this thing is so well done. I like it. It has just enough nostalgia for the original animated show with just a hint of G1. And I feel like some third-party company has to make like a animated head, but oh well, till then. I think this guy is pretty neat. Oh, you thought that was it on animated toys? No. Legacy United animated Bumblebee. I love this little guy. He's literally little. Look at him. Look at it. Look at the size comparison of a candle. He's so small. I love him. He's just and he's so good. He transforms so good. He's transformed so differently from every Bumblebee that we're so accustomed to. Of the Camaro, where the chest just becomes the boobs and all that, and the back of the car is the legs. You give it the G1 one, where the front half it becomes the dead. This guy is different, and that's what makes him cool. We have had so many of the Volkswagen Bumblebees. We've had so many of the Camaro Bumblebees. Let's give fucking anybody else a try. And they did it, and it's perfect. And the best part is, it's pretty much 1-to-1 an animated Bumblebee. It's not a Bumblebee with a G1 head. It's not an animated Bumblebee with a G1 alt mode. It is, in my opinion, a modern take on an animated toy, and I love it. And it's so good. This is like my definitive Bumblebee at this point. Not in like the Secret Transformer show, but just in general. This is my favorite Bumblebee toy. Probably not ever, but right now it is. And it's perfect, and I love how he scales with other toys. It's just perfect. I'm spinning everywhere. I love this guy. Get him. We're not done yet. Animated Optimus Prime. Wow. Everything I just said about Bumblebee goes right back to this guy. I recently just finally got the original animated Optimus Prime from, and this guy does the job so well. It has no mouth plate, but that's how he was in the show. It has all the design cues correct. There is no, once again, G1ification of this. This is almost strictly an animated toy, and I love that to death. They gave him the big-ass axe. This is the second Prime this year that had a big-ass axe. I don't care that he doesn't have a gun. He didn't have a gun. He just had the water pistol on the original toy. At first I was like, that's what's missing out of this. And then I realized, no, it don't miss anything. That's just what it is. It just needed the axe. Because the old toy's axe was stupid. So I'm glad we have this. Because this is so good. It just fits once again. It is an animated toy of today. And it feels so good. And it's so awesome. I don't think if you cannot get that original animated Optimus Prime, I think this is a perfect substitute. It's not as tall as the original toys. None of them are. This guy, though, fills a niche. Not a niche. It fills that gap for you. And it's so awesome. And I can't wait for more animated toys. I heard, allegedly, they're making a Motormaster to this guy, and I am going to be first in line to get it. I need my Macho Man Randy Savage robot. But until then, I'm glad that mold will be in safe hands. And if they don't make it, I'm going to blow up Hasbro in Minecraft. If you don't know, I love Skywarp. It's one of my top 3 favorite Transformers. Lies, top 4 favorite Transformers. And this year I got 2 Skywarps that I've always wanted. Like, these 2 have been, well, maybe not always wanted, but maybe one of them was a recent want and the other one was always wanted. Regardless, they're finally a part of my coveted Skywarp shelf. It's a 2-way tie, of course. Hellwarp and Prime Skywarp. I got the Prime Skywarp off of the 14th Prime. He was getting rid of a bunch of figures, and I saw this guy, and I nabbed him as soon as I could see it. I have wanted this guy for quite some time. I had to use the Dark Energon Starscream as my, substitute for a Skywarp in Transformers Prime. But I'm so glad that I finally have this thing. It is so nice. I think there's a Thundercracker left, I guess. That's the only thing. I think that's it. I think that's after that. That's all I lack for this mold, because I have that weird gray and pink one. And I have the original one, and I have the Dark Energon one. So I just need this guy. And I just need Thundercracker. And I'm not really too fussed about getting the Thundercracker. But this thing has been a weird one, because at first I was like, I don't really need it. It's so weird. But after the few review, of course, I had to get it. And and I never had the Skybite mold, the Generation Skybite mold. I remember as like when it first came out, I was like, that's weird. I don't need it. And then I got this, and I was like, why did I pass on the Skybite mold? Ironically, I didn't buy a Skybite afterwards, but I think I do now with everything, like with Peter Spello's passing. But for the time being, this is so funny and so weird that I love it. It's just a different Skywarp. Like every Skywarp I got on my shelf is jets. All of them are jets, except for the Sky Wasp. He's funny. And then the bird Skywarp from Beast Wars 2. You know, those two are different. But they're all jets. Why can't I have a shark to go with it, you know? So I'm glad that I got to add to my Skywarp shelf. And I think at this point, other than masterpieces, I really got everything important Skywarp-wise. You know, I got all the cool third-party ones. I got, like, most of the mainline stuff. Other than small little weird doodad and knickknacks and all that, I'm almost kind of done with my Skywarp shelf. I say that, and they're going to unload, like, 50 Skywarps this year. Heavens to Betsy. Legacy has had an interesting track record with how they do other series' interpretations. And I think the most egregious ones have been the Prime ones, and I think everybody agrees with that, because the Armada ones came out, and they're pretty much accurate to the original toys. The animated toys are pretty damn good. But Prime, they kind of fucked it up, I think. And Knockout was good. I like Knockout. And I've kind of started getting a revision of, like, I think the RC mold is fine. It's just that it doesn't really work to me as the Prime RC. And Bulkhead, I consider him a different universe altogether. They made it right. Skyquake. It is so cool that they made Skyquake the next Prime Universe toy. And this thing's so good. Like, I remember for years, I always wanted the original Skyquake that came out, and it was a hard-to-find toy. And then I got it, and I was just like, oh, it's just Dreadwing again. And, you know, I should have expected that, really. But this feels like a whole new experience, because it is a whole new experience. First up, it's bigger than the original Skyquake toy. And I think that's better already. Like, I think this thing needs to be towering over so many characters. And I'm glad it does. And finally they give Skyquake his moment to shine. Because like I said, Skyquake was first teased in the beginning as a toy, but then they gave Dreadwing the toy instead, which makes sense. Dreadwing was more, you know, useful in the show. People were talking, he was a main supporting character for so long. Skyquake was in, like, what, 2 episodes? And so I'm glad they gave Skyquake the toy first. They obviously made a Dreadwing, and unfortunately I haven't bought it yet. But I'm glad I got Skyquake. This means more to me having Skyquake than it is Dreadwing. I love Dreadwing. I love the character of Dreadwing. But I love Skyquake, and I'm glad we gave it its moment to shine before his twin brother showed up again, like always. But I'm glad they put this thing out, and it's so good. It's obviously got some, you know, interpretation for the next remold you can use it on, like G2 Dreadwing and, you know, Skyquake and all that. But I'm glad this pretty much works as a Prime Skyquake, and I love him to death. Now, I definitely need Dreadwing, but for the time being, I'm glad to have Skyquake. For years, we kept thinking that this guy would not get a mainline toy in the slightest. And I'm glad everybody was proven wrong about it. And then not only that, he got a cool as shit repaint to go with it. Tarn. We really did think that this was just never getting a toy. And I think that was so funny. But we finally did get a Tarn toy. And he's so good. The only problem I have with him is that I think he should have been a leader. He's small, but he's so cool. But I also really like Bludgeon probably the most. I think Bludgeon fits this mold. I mean, like, obviously, this is Tarn. 100%. This is Tarn from the comic. 100%, like, down to everything. In fact, it transforms pretty much identical to that Culture toy. Maybe a few extra little doodads in there. Curious. But Bludgeon just really rocks this mold. It doesn't get... The only problem is that it doesn't give him his individuality. It's still... A lot of it is Tarn. But I still think the colors on this guy and the weapons he's packing and the few remolds they did put on this guy is phenomenal. Like I said, I think I like Bludgeon more, but the only problem is he's too reminiscent of Tarn. And then Tarn exists, and he's really good, and he's a good representation of his comic self. I just feel he's a little too small. I really do think the leader class toy size would have been better for this guy, but unfortunately, with how leader classes are, it probably would have just meant more engineering, and that was it, and they probably would have been the same size. Regardless, though, these things, they're so good, and I really, it's crazy that these things are so rare, but I guess it makes sense. They're so good, and they're so well made. They really are. I really like them, and I really do think Bludgeon's my favorite, though, of the two. Last year I had Victory Saber, and I put him in the top 10 of the list. I really do like the guy, and I really do think it's cool, but I've not transformed him since I took pictures of the guy and put it on my Instagram. Check it out. There's a link in the description below. But, obviously, he needed his counterpart. And obviously I got him. Deathsaurus surprised me. I got him because I was like, well, I have Victory Saber, might as well get him too. Like, it really was just a matter of, I got the one guy, I definitely need the other guy. And it was kind of crazy that towards November, I was starting to feel like, oh man, this toy's gonna suck. Because, like, I kept looking at pictures of the guy, and I was sitting there and I was like, this is not gonna be good. It's gonna suck so much. I was pleasantly surprised. This thing doesn't have as much engineering, I would say, as Victory Saber, which has like 50 different, combination transformations and all that stuff. It's just Deathsaurus, unless you count all the little cassette guys in his breast here. The transformation is so simple, and in fact, it's recently been told that this guy was going to be a Grimlock repaint and a remold, and that was it. And when you factor that in and you transform this guy, it makes sense. It's understandable. Like, yeah, this was going to be that. But I genuinely, while transforming this thing, had a fun time. I can't say that about Victory Saber. I did not have a fun time transforming that guy. I literally was in here for an hour just transforming it to the certain one part of the alt mode, taking a picture, transforming it to this other one. It's great, but it literally has stayed in its big robot mode since that day. This, on the other hand, I've transformed a few times since getting it. I think he's just so fun. I took a picture of him in his alt mode, his giant, what basically is Rodan, like a giant Rodan Godzilla mode. And I looked at myself, and I looked at it and just said, this was worth it. Like, just that little alt mode, it was worth it, in my opinion. That was all it needed to me. That it wasn't super difficult. Yeah, at that point, the price is a little silly. But it has this throne, and it has all these damn guns that I still haven't really taken good picture, messed with. But regardless, I really like this. I really do. I really, I was pleasantly surprised. I just hope that the next HasLab project is something a little different than the Victory folks, but if it is, oh well, I hope that's that rumor about Omega Supreme. Obviously, I had to put this on the list. Number 4 is Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime from the Studio Series, the very highly coveted figure. I had this pre-ordered, so I didn't have any issue getting the guy at all. I did worry that maybe I was gonna be on the short list of people, like they would give out everybody else an Optimus Prime, and then I was gonna be like, "Oh, sorry, we actually ran out of those things. Oops." But luckily, I wasn't affected like that. I got it. What was funny about this thing was this Optimus Prime for anybody else. I went to like so many Targets one day looking for Max one, and one of them had a Cyberverse Shockwave in the box. Here's the picture of that right there. That was so funny, but also so sad. Then luckily Max got his, but the next person we were trying to find for was Dakota. Remember how I mentioned about the 5 Targets we went to in Nebraska? That's why. We literally probably could have went back to the hotel and hung out for the rest of the day, but we had to go to 5 Targets looking for this fucking Optimus Prime, and none of them had him. And we were but we still had fun. We were just two bros having fun, hanging out and all that stuff. Sorry for that. I'll never do that again. And then when we went home, we looked at our Targets there, and we looked everywhere. And then finally the word came out that this thing was discontinued. We were like, well, shit, we were buying that for Dakota for his wedding gift. And after months and months of us looking around online for a decent price one, we found one from Canada. And I was just like, if you want to buy it, let's do this. So me and Max got it. It took a little while to get here. And I was so happy when I opened the box and I saw one of these. And we finally gave it to Dakota. It's in his unboxing video. Wait, did he ever upload that unboxing video? I don't think he did. Bastard. Anyway. This thing is so cool. Enough of all those stories aside, this thing is so cool. The only problem I probably have is the shoulders, but I think there's a new DNA design kit to fix that. But regardless, and also this cannon is from my good friend Joe Powell, Crosshairs Productions. He 3D printed one of these for me and Max, and he sent me the one that wasn't painted, but that's okay. I painted it up. I think this thing is so cool. I really do. It's just a shame that it was an exclusive that went away like it did. But I'm glad to be one of the few people that did have it. And it is such a nice Optimus Prime toy. This one is kind of a return of an old toy I used to have. If you didn't know, I had MP10 Optimus Prime. And I say had, I actually still own it. But it's been signed in the box by Peter Cullen. And really ever since that day, I've only took it out of the box once or twice. But I missed it. I really do. But I feel like it belongs in that box, So in comes Mason Brown. I am Amazing Mason to fill that gap for me. MP10V. This is the Voyager downscale of the MP10 mold. And it fills whatever I needed. It fills the gaps I needed. It is also a perfect size scale for it all. I really do like this. I'm so glad to own this. It came with the trailer, came with all the accessories and stuff. Came with a bunch of heads. It came with like a bunch of other cool stuff. And I'm glad Mason Brown was like, I'm done with this thing. And I bought it off of him. This thing is such a perfect Optimus Prime. I've loved this mold ever since I had it. And I'm so glad to... And like I said, I've debated on buying another one. But I felt like that's a little too much, So to have pretty much a smaller version, which a version I've always kind of wanted, even if it is a KO, I'm glad to own this mold again in some form or fashion. It's a little wiggly at the bottom, but who cares? This thing is this scratches the itch that I needed. And I'm so happy to own this thing. It's so... I really can't describe it anymore. It's great to have... It's like having an old friend again. And it's so lovely. Number 2, I have wanted for quite some time. When these were the norm back in the day, they were never at stores I went to, and so they kind of faded away. And I always thought, like, oh, I would just get the Takara version of it, it'll be fine. And that time passed and went, and now that thing is going for hundreds of dollars. So I got to a point, and I was like, well, okay, I'll just get the Hasbro version. Hundreds of dollars. So I got to a point of, I'm never having this thing ever. Until Max showed me, hey, this is something at a local seller next to me for this price. And I said, Max, if you're not buying it, I'm going to buy it. I will pay whatever to get it shipped to me. Max went to the guy. He bought it. I have it. It feels so good to have a Computron. I've always had the Creo Computron, but that ain't nothing. I've wanted this mold. I've wanted this combiner for quite some time. I think he's such an interesting piece. He's so different from the rest. And I'm glad to have it. Yes, it's the Combiner Wars one. Not all these things are great. And the Unite Warriors one is so much better in every kind of regard. But this thing has scrounge. And that's worth about all the things. This was $100, by the way. You can't find that for $100 online. You can find maybe some of these combined, like the arm for like $50. You can't find this for $100. And I'm super, super thankful for Max. He even showing me that this listing even existed in his area. It has everything but 2 guns, but who cares? 3 guns technically, but who cares? Who gives a shit? It's pretty much all here. That's all I really ever cared about was that if this thing had its drill and if scrounge existed. And even if scrounge didn't exist, I'd have probably been okay with it. But this thing is basically 98% complete. And that's all that matters to me. And I love this guy. Because it's just so many of these weird-ass parts and molds in this thing. And I love it. And I'm super thankful for Max. And this thing is... I feel great. Obviously, there's Piranha-Con. But I'm not too fussed about it for some weird reason. Computron was the last combiner I really ever wanted. And I'm glad to finally have them. So, we went through all those other robots. So what's number 1? First, a dishonorable mention. You know it was coming. It was about to happen. Okay, on dishonorable mentions, there's only 2. In fact, one of them's not even here with me anymore. I sold it to Max. It was Earthrise Double Dealer. I thought that thing was a clusterfuck. It really wasn't that good. It sucked. I got it for like $30 and I felt like I was ripped off. It was just too much going on for it. It really was just it was just too much shit just going on. I didn't even got the little cassette guys for it. And I still did not find that thing redeemable in the slightest sense. Max wanted it for some weird reason, so I sold it to him. He could have had it. It was just, I just had enough of it. So it's not even on this list. What is here that I do unfortunately still own? The Fallen. Now, this might be controversial. Some people think this thing is pretty good. I don't think so. I think this thing sucks so much. I got this for a ridiculously good price of $20. Shipping and all. I had a $30 Target gift card. I had a credit on Target.com for this thing. So I was just like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. $20, I feel ripped off. This thing sucks so bad. You can't pose them for jack shit nothing. The robot mode, No, yeah, the vehicle mode is stupid. I was sitting there thinking about this the other day. The Legends toy did the mode so much better. This thing wasn't designed to have a vehicle mode, but the fucking Legends toy knew what to do. This thing is not, couldn't figure it out. You can't move the arms too good because this stupid shit likes to fall out all the time. I just genuinely do not like this thing. The only reason I keep it is that in robot mode, he looks good. That's it. He looks good in robot mode. And that's all I really need it to do. So we're down to number 1. Every year, I always say that I have like a holy grail list to accomplish. That I always find like these Transformer figures that I absolutely need. But every year, there's one that I forget that I really want. And this one I've wanted for quite some time because, one, I don't have a representation of it anywhere in my collection. And I've always liked this one in particular, but I could never find it at a good price. I used to see them back in Toys R Us back in the day, but even then those were a little pricey for me at the time. Of course, now that I have big boy money, I would have I would have gotten it, but I didn't have big boy money back in the day. I had little boy money. Anyway, enough about little boy, big boy. I went to Fanboy this year, like I usually do the last many years, and I went with all my good friends. And we were just walking around, having a good old time, and I saw this in the corner of my eye, and it was in its box, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen one of those in a long time." And I just wanted to walk over and look at it, see it in its box. It's been taken out of the box. The box was kind of falling apart. It was literally being held together by one piece of tape. And I was just looking at it, and my friend Mason, not Mason Brown, my good friend Mason, we looked at it and admired it. And we were just like, that'd be cool to own. So, this thing has gone for so many ridiculous prices. I was expecting a ridiculous price. I was just like, hey man, how much you want to get rid of that for? $100? There's no fucking way. I transferred whatever money I could get out of my bank account instantly. I was getting this thing. I was leaving that day with this thing. It didn't matter that I was literally hauling it around and making sure it never fell out from the tape. I needed this. And then Mason, for Christmas, got me an upgrade kit for it. And I'm super thankful for it because this makes the already, in my opinion, a pretty good toy even better. I gotta be careful. This thing likes to fall apart. Year of the Snake Omega Supreme with the Armageddon add-on kit. It's just one of those things that was like, this is too good to be true. There's no way this thing was $100. And even on the box, he still had a sticker that said $300, but this guy wanted it gone. And I'm happy that I got it. I have wanted an Omega Supreme for so damn long. Last year I was going to go buy the Arc and custom paint it to be Omega Supreme because I missed out on the first Omega Supreme that they did in Siege. But I've always wanted this. I've always liked the Year of the Snake Omega Supreme. I've always admired the thing. So, of course, when I got it, I was super thrilled. Me and Mason's a big Omega Supreme fan. So it was not just only I loved it and was super happy about it. He loved it and he was super happy about it. It was, in a way, it was like a son that we shared. And then, yeah, for Christmas, he gave me the upgrade kit, which genuinely was crazy that he even found it. It was on eBay, of course, and I think I linked it to him one time just to show that it existed. But no, this completes it. Because, without this and without the cool gun thing here, this is still good. I love it. But this really adds everything about Omega Supreme. And it is so heavy, it's so big. And that was what was funny. So the last few days I've been rearranging stuff in here. And the goal was to put this with the other big Titan figures, with the Fortress Maximus, the Star Saber, the Deathsaurus, the Skylynx, the Devastator, the Trypticon. There is legitimately no way, even before this upgrade kit, could that have fit on that shelf. So he has his own dedicated shelf with Voltron. And I love this thing. I'm super happy. And I'm super happy Mason also got me this kit. This thing is a work of art. I really do love it. Is it the most perfect toy ever? God, no. But this is something I've wanted for quite some time. And I'm glad that I finally have it. And I'm glad that it's here. I never thought I'd own this thing, honestly. And I'm glad I got it. And it also, with help from a good friend, to make it the most perfect of this toy. And I told him that unless they make animated Omega Supreme a toy, I don't need another Omega Supreme. I don't need the Siege one. I don't need anything. This hits every box for me. And I love it so much. I was about to kiss it, but this thing's kind of dusty. So that was it. That was the top 15 of this year. Hope you guys enjoyed. What's your top whatever list in the description in the comment section below? Yeah. So Larry, what's your goals this year? I'm gonna say it like how it was last year. I don't want to announce anything unless it's almost 90% done. Like I didn't announce that Secret Transformer Show episode until like I was halfway, 75% of the way into production of that episode. When I was filming and editing everything, that's when I finally announced it to people. And of course, people who was working on it, they knew since like January and February. But it's once again going to be that. Also for collecting, last year I said that I hoped I didn't spend half of what I spent that year in 22. 22, I spent like $6,000 on shit. This year I spent $4,000, so only 2/3 of it. And it's I'm not saying I'm done collecting, but it might be time we need to slow down. I think this thing really made me think more about everything, because when I got this guy, it really was a checklist on, well, I got him. What next? Because I think I'm kind of done. Not done with collecting in total, but I think I'm done with getting certain characters and toys. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say a retirement of collecting at all. There might be some mainline stuff I get this next year. May not. But there's also some other stuff in my life that I really want to buy. There's a few trips I have planned. I definitely need a car. Just a little month ago, roughly, I was in an accident, and it was kind of the eye-opening. Yeah, it's probably time for me to get rid of this thing, this old truck, and I'm kind of ready to move on to the next vehicle. And obviously, those things aren't cheap. So I'll probably be doing payments on that. And so like a lot of the stuff that I've spent so much money on, I need to cut back. So with that being said, I feel like this next year, I want to really try to tackle toys I've always wanted. This next year, I really do think I want it to be a Holy Grail collection-a-thon. There's going to be a few mainline stuff like that Tidal Wave and the Studio Series concept Megatron. But I really want to go for stuff that is vintage, but stuff that's hard to get. And I feel like that might make collecting more fun again, to not buy too much of everything. Obviously, in a year's time, we're going to see if I actually stick to that, if I go ahead and buy every single one of those in one whack, so I can go ahead and be like, well, all right, time for me to go back to collecting normal stuff. We'll see. We'll come back to this in a year, see where I go, and hell, hopefully, maybe I'll just have a top 10 list next year, but that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, I have a whole notepad of just the stuff I'm really going for, and there might be some extra stuff included in that through time, you know? Like I said, I forgot I wanted this thing for so long, and then whenever I saw it, I was like, oh yeah! But I think I got a good comprehensive list of things that I absolutely positively want. But like I said, we'll come back to it in a year. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope to be making good stuff again, or maybe not. We don't know. We don't know what life takes us, but hopefully we'll have some good stuff this year. I hope so. Take care, guys, and all that.